Key point 1. Worry will steer your life if you allow it. How often do you sit down and allow your mind to wander? Do you then let yourself start overthinking? Do you then start worrying about what happened in the past, feeling bad about what happened, and then panicking about what may come in the future? These are all common issues in the modern day. We spend time living in the past or future. We forget to enjoy the here and now. Dale Carnegie understood this from a very early age, and his teachings ring true even today, perhaps even more so than before. Today, we're more connected than ever before, but we're more stressed than we've ever been. Be more aware of your triggers and make a plan to overcome them. If you're someone who struggles with overthinking or constantly worrying about what might happen, learning how to put the brakes on constant worrying and learning to live in the moment will be a huge positive for you. Of course, we could all benefit from this, but some certainly more than others. The benefits of focusing on kicking worry out of your life are truly far-reaching. Not only will you notice the joy around you, but you'll also develop stronger relationships due to not constantly being dragged down by fear and worry. Dale Carnegie's advice has never been more pertinent than it is today. And by taking it all on board and creating a plan to free yourself, you'll notice that your life feels lighter, happier, and ultimately healthier. Key point 2. Banish your worries by living firmly in the moment. One of the main reasons for worry and stress is that we're no longer living in the moment. We're either lamenting something that happened in the past or becoming stressed about something that hasn't even happened yet or may never happen. Dale Carnegie explains this idea first brought about by Sir William Osier, a professor of medicine, teaching us to live in day-tight compartments. It means you should live in a compartment firmly in the here and now. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't begin to plan for tomorrow and the future, but the best way to do that is to live to the best of your ability today to create opportunities for the future. When you focus on the tasks you have now, you can do better and prevent further anxiety. Most people don't realize that the power to control our thoughts is in our own hands. Good thinking is positive and causes us to plan constructively, but lousy reflection leads to stress, tension, and the possibility of a nervous breakdown. Instead, why not focus on living your life today until bedtime and don't think further than that? Dale Carnegie gives the example of a lady who became desperate and almost suicidal after her husband's death. Everything changed when she learned to live in the moment, looking no further than bedtime. She heard the words, "Every day is a new life," to a wise man, which completely altered her life. Did you know? 2016 Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation research shows that around 275 million people suffer from anxiety. Key point 3. A 3-step guide to waving worries away. Banishing your worries could be as simple as applying the 3-step guide given to Dale Carnegie by Willis H. Carrier, the famous engineer. First, analyze the situation before deciding on the worst possible outcome. Then, accept that worst-case scenario and keep it in perspective. Losing your job won't be good, but you can always get another. Lastly, improve that worst-case scenario by reframing it with a positive. As before, we mentioned that if you lose your job, you can get a new one, but you can also get a better one, perhaps one you enjoy more or one with better pay. Learn to deal with worries by using 3 steps. First, analyze the issue. Figure out the worst-case scenario. And then, understand how you could improve it. By doing that, you have nothing to worry about. The worst case scenario in life is very rarely ever to happen. However, understanding how to overcome it helps you feel more confident. This guide can be used in any situation with any worry or concern you might have. Businessmen who do not know how to fight worry die young. Dr. Alexis Carrel. We focus so much on medical issues, such as smallpox and other diseases, giving immunizations and raising awareness. Still, you rarely hear about the significant health risks of worry and anxiety. Worry can cause stomach ulcers, which, if left untreated, can be fatal, arthritis and rheumatism, tooth decay, an overactive thyroid, possibly leading to total burnout, high blood pressure affecting the heart. Worry can manifest itself in physical symptoms, which severely harm your health while damaging your mental health at the same time. Key point 4. Face your worries and analyze them for clarity of mind. Learning how to analyze your worries will give you a clearer mind, and in the end, you will realize there is nothing to spend time worrying about. Dale Carnegie gives an example of one of Asia's most successful business people. He puts his success down to the ability to analyze his worries because it allows him to examine the reason for his fears. To do this, he uses a similar model to the one we mentioned. Identify the problem, identify the cause of the problem, come up with a list of possible solutions for that problem, and then shortlist it down to the best solution. By analyzing the issue, you're dealing with your worries in an organized and focused way. It removes the emotional aspect and allows you to think more clearly. Being strategic in your thinking helps you to overcome any eventuality. Knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way gives you confidence and power. It's always challenging to think clearly when your mind is whirling and you can't focus on one thing. By taking the time to calm down and be methodical, you have a much greater chance of not only deciding upon a course of action, but the correct one, which will bring you the most remarkable outcome available. Key point 5. Keeping busy will distract your mind away from your everyday worries. The best way to break the damaging cycle of worry is to fill your mind with other things, so there is no space for the anxiety to seep in. Psychology tells us that no mind on earth can focus on more than one thing at a time. That means you won't spend time dwelling on the worry if you stay busy and fill your mind with other things. Winston Churchill famously said, "I'm too busy. I have no free time for worry," at the height of the war, when he made huge decisions that shaped the world's future. Dale Carnegie also gives us a poignant example of a former student who lost 2 of his children. Crippled with grief, his surviving child asked him to make him a toy boat. Of course, he didn't feel like it, but he did it anyway. He realized that while focusing on making that boat, he wasn't thinking about his worries. Stay busy. Keep making plans and following them through, and you won't have space in your brain for worries. Most of our worries seem huge in the moment, but when we look back at them, perhaps during dire times, we realize that we spent a lot of time worrying about insignificant things. Key point 6. The ultimate question. What are the chances? Ask yourself the chances that the event or thing you're worried about will happen. By stopping to ask yourself this question, you'll realize that most of the things we worry about have statistically very slim chances of actually occurring in real life. Most of the things we worry about are extremely unlikely to ever happen. As a child, Dale Carnegie was terrified of thunderstorms, being struck by lightning, and being buried alive. Years later, he realized how ridiculous those fears were because, according to the law of averages, it was doubtful ever to happen. We can eliminate the overwhelming number of worries by putting them into perspective and asking ourselves whether they have any chance of really happening. We should also learn to accept the things we can't change and adjust to life as they are. If something adverse happens, the human ability to adapt and survive is terrific. We tend to throw too much time and effort at things that aren't worth it. It is true of worry when we continue to think and go over a situation, becoming more and more nervous about it in our minds. What we should do instead is ask how much worry is it worth? At what point do we need to stop worrying and accept the situation as it is? When you find yourself in a cycle of worry and anxiety, stop and ask where your stop-loss point is, i.e., at what point do you stop worrying and let it go? By giving every worry a limitation, you're not allowing it to control you and become a vast, swirling mass of anxiety. One of the most tragic things I know about human nature is that all of us tend to put off living. We are all dreaming of some magical rose garden over the horizon instead of enjoying the roses that are blooming outside our windows today. Dale Carnegie.
You've hit a daily streak by completing 3 key points. Great job.
Key point 7. Changing your attitude will help you to move toward happiness. Happiness is a choice. Worry is also a choice because we can change our thoughts and therefore banish worry if we work hard enough. By changing your mindset towards a happier setting, you dismiss worry and give it less chance to enter your future thoughts. There are some valuable ways to create a mindset that puts you in a happier frame of mind and a more peaceful one. Choose positivity over negativity. Marcus Aurelius, a famous philosopher of the Roman Empire, said, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." If you think of fearful ideas and thoughts, your life will be full of fear. If you think of happy thoughts, your life will be happier. Control your negative thoughts and turn them into positives. Forget your enemies. Holding grudges and trying to get even with old adversaries does nothing but give the power back to them. You lose sleep, become nervous, your blood pressure rises, and the list continues. Your enemies don't deserve this power. Don't expect gratitude. Being grateful is not a natural human trait. It has to be taught and learned. If you live your life expecting others to be grateful for what you do for them, and then become angry when they don't, you will live a life of disappointment. Count your blessings. Dale Carnegie tells us about a businessman who lost everything. He was walking down the street, feeling defeated, when he came across a man who had lost his legs. From that point on, the man realized he had more than he thought. Always count your blessings. Just be yourself. There is nobody else on the planet like you, so why try and be someone else? Don't try and fit in, and don't feel bad about the way you look or the things you can't do. Instead, just be yourself. Do good deeds for others. By doing something good for someone every day, you make yourself feel better, you make them feel better, and you foster a positive and upbeat attitude, which worries can't break. Remember that nobody can upset you or disturb your time unless you allow them to do so.
You've hit a daily streak by completing 3 key points. Great job.
Key point 8. Is criticism a backhanded compliment? When we receive criticism from others, whether just or unjust, it's easy to retreat backward, feeling negative about it and starting to worry. What you need to realize is that unfair criticism is a backhanded compliment. When someone criticizes you without reason, it's because you are doing something which makes you stand out, i.e., you're achieving something which makes people stand up and take notice. Most people get a kick out of knocking down people who have raised themselves, which comes from unfair and sometimes hurtful criticism. Learn to take this as a compliment, and you will overcome such problems. Criticism shouldn't bother you, as long as you are doing the best you can. Nobody kicks a dead dog. Dale Carnegie. Of course, some criticism can be positive, i.e., constructive, and gives us a platform to learn. Dale Carnegie keeps a folder called FTD, Footings I Have Done. In this, he writes the things he has done, which he feels pessimistic about. He reads it on occasion and uses the information to learn. Remember that nobody will help you when you don't feel motivated.
You've hit a daily streak by completing 3 key points. Great job!
Key point 9. Banishing mental and emotional fatigue will help you build a brighter future. Studies have shown that the brain rarely gets tired from physical activity or mental work, but becomes fatigued and exhausted by emotional worries. Respected psychiatrist J.A. Hadfield said, "The greater part of the fatigue from which we suffer is the mental origin. In fact, exhaustion of purely physical origin is rare." Have a daily check-in with yourself. Ask how you're feeling. Scan your mind and body for tiredness, and be kinder to yourself. Dale Carnegie suggests regular rest to help you overcome such fatigue, to help build up your mental resistance to worry and unhelpful emotions. You should also identify what makes you feel tired and what makes you feel sad, and work out your worry triggers. Doing this can negate them in your life, or at least reduce your exposure to them. Focusing on downtime is also vital, so make sure you make space in your life for chilling out, stretching, relaxing, exercising, and building up a tight social circle to relieve stress. Within this, you can learn how to work more innovatively to help reduce fatigue at work and give you more time when you get home to focus on the fun things in life. Focusing on the things you enjoy is essential for reducing overwhelming thoughts. Finally, an excellent suggestion is to banish boredom from your life. One of the main reasons we worry is because we have the time to do so because we're bored. Instead, kick it out of your life. A photographer returned home from work with a headache, backache, and tiredness. Then, she received a phone call from her boyfriend asking her to dance, and she was immediately energized. She felt that way before because she was bored. How many times has that happened to you? Key point 10. Get regular sleep because it is important for physical or mental health. Insomnia is a huge problem today, but worrying about not sleeping can be a bigger problem. Everyone needs a certain amount of sleep, with some requiring more. When you worry about not sleeping, the problem is making it harder for you to sleep in the first place. Dale Carnegie tells us about one of his students who struggled with insomnia, concentrating on the clock, and becoming ever more stressed about his lack of sleep. He went to the doctor, who told him that if he wanted to overcome it, he had to stop worrying about it and realize that he was getting rest regardless of whether he was asleep. By understanding that, the man began to sleep far better, and his nervous problems disappeared. Insomnia and general sleep problems can be worsened by worrying about the fact you're not sleeping. A professor at the University of Chicago, Dr. Kleitman, also says that people who have insomnia actually sleep more than they realize. If you can't sleep, do these. Get up and read until you feel tired. Don't worry about not sleeping. It will not hurt you. Relax your mind and body. Do some exercise to tire yourself out physically. Try prayer if that works for you. Keep.
You've hit a daily streak by completing 3 key points. Great job.
Point 11. Master work and money worries with a simple, direct approach. When we are young, we are forced to decide what to do with our lives, e.g., the career we want to follow. It is a very stressful decision that can cause a lot of anxiety and worry. It's important to realize that it's possible to have various jobs and careers throughout a person's life, perhaps failing in some and succeeding in others. The best way to deal with this decision is to listen to what you want, seek reliable advice, and do your best to remain calm about reality. This decision can and probably will change over time. You do not have to get it right the first time. It might take several attempts before settling on the career you want. Also, one of the biggest reasons that people worry is to do with money. Most think that if they could increase how much money they earn, their worries would disappear, but this rarely works. The best way is to become smarter with money and create a budget. These steps help. Write down all the figures accurately. Get advice and create an affordable budget. Learn how to spend appropriately and wisely. Don't give yourself a bigger headache by taking on more expenses than you can afford. Build up your credit rating for the future. Insure yourself against emergencies, such as fire or illness. Avoid having your life insurances paid completely to your widow in cash. Teach your children how to be money savvy. Look into ways of earning money on the side. Avoid gambling at all costs. Money is one of the biggest reasons that people worry and develop anxiety. But is it worth it? Above all else, do what you can to improve the situation. Realize that you are doing your very best and stop wishing for things that cannot be. Conclusion. Learning to stop worrying will be the catalyst to changing your life completely. It won't happen overnight, and you will need to work at it. But once you notice changes, celebrate them and continue to focus on the things you need to work on. When you're constantly worrying, you need more time to work towards what you want to achieve. Worrying takes up far more time than you realize, and it also erodes your general health and happiness at the same time. If you constantly feel exhausted when you've done nothing out of the ordinary, the chances are that you're expending energy on unnecessary worry. Understanding that we have control over our thoughts and therefore our worries is a light bulb moment. Once you realize how to change those thoughts into positives rather than worry-filled negatives, you will notice a brighter, happier future. In the end, worry might be prevalent, but it's a choice. You can choose to free yourself by doing the groundwork. Sure, life throws us hard times occasionally, but how you deal with them dictates whether you'll be a more positive and happier person or someone who allows the what if to carry them through a miserable life. For anyone who struggles with overthinking, learning to harness that will completely change your life. Think of all the possibilities you're missing because you're focused on the what if and maybe. There is a big world out there, and you're allowing fear to control your life. Understand that you're holding yourself in a prison of your own making. It's time to free yourself. Try this. Count your blessings. Write down 5 things you are grateful for in your life. Do a good deed for someone else every day. Change every negative thought you have into something positive.